Welcome to Deep Waters, where we take a deep dive on all of the hottest, most up-to-date topics in the world of boxing today. I'm Chris Algieri, and I'm joined by my partner, two-time world champion Paulie Malignaggi. In light of breaking news that Tim Tszyu is no longer fighting Keith Thurman because Keith Thurman has cited a bicep injury and has pulled himself out of the fight for April 30th, Sebastian Fundora has stepped up to the plate to challenge Tszyu for his world title come April 30th. And here we are. We're joined with Sebastian Fundora and his newly crowned IBF World Flyweight Champion sister, Gabriella. Sebastian, tell us how this fight came about. When did you find out? What were your initial thoughts? And how fresh is this in your own mind?
Yesterday, they told me about it. My promoter called us up and said, "This guy has an injury. If you guys are willing to save the fight card, you have the chance." And of course, my first reaction was yes, because this guy's a world champion, and I was fighting for the vacant WBC. But if I could fight for the WBO, it's still the same thing, and it's a big fight. I consider him maybe, as of right now, the best 154. So if I can take that spot, I'll definitely do it.
Sebastian, was Charlo stripped of the WBC title then when you were fighting for the vacant WBC title? Was it the full title or was it an interim title? Because obviously this is the bigger fight. You acknowledge that yourself. It's the headliner on a pay-per-view. What's the reaction? What's the thought process here? How did you react when you get this phone call?
I was very excited, very excited. Again, my promoter called my father and he said, he gave us the news. He said, if you want to make this or you don't want to take it, but we did definitely want to take it. We definitely feel like we're ready for this. We've been training for a hard fight. This one as well is another hard fight, but it's I think it's time. I think it's time to become a world champion.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, you were already on this card, so you've been training. You had a very tough opponent in front of you in Sergey Blachowicz. So you're obviously prepared. But also, Tim Tszyu is a guy who's been at the top of the division. Recently he's fought. Obviously, you guys share some opponents. So that had to be someone that was in your sights for somewhere down the line. How does it feel, this timeline being moved up the way that it has?
During one of the press conferences, we were actually talking about fighting Tim Tszyu. But I guess God said, hey, you're going to fight him right now. So, you know what? I'm just happy. I'm excited for this opportunity, and I'm definitely going to show what I'm made of.
How do things change in your preparation between now and the end of the month, Sebastian? Obviously it's close. We know you're in shape. Obviously, we were just mentioning that you're on this card. But how does preparation change? What adjustments do you make? We're seeing the tail of the tape right now between you and Tszyu. What comparisons are you making with Blachowicz and Tszyu, and what changes do you have to make in the next couple of weeks to adjust to the opponent?
Just keeping my IQ sharp. This Blachowicz was a pressure fighter. I figure Tim Tszyu's somewhat of a pressure fighter too. They're both hard hitter punchers. They're both right-handed. But again, it's just how am I gonna adjust to this? And we've been using our brain for this camp a lot. A lot. So it's gonna be good.
It's been some time since we've seen you in the ring. Both of your last fights, Tim Tszyu and yourself fought the same guy. You fought Brian Mendoza. What do you take away from your fight with Brian, but also Tim Tszyu's fight with Brian?
Actually, I didn't watch the fight with Tim Tszyu and Brian Mendoza.
Oh, okay.
My fight with him is a mistake, a big mistake, obviously, but a mistake that we've been going over and over and over in the camp. So we're more than ready. We could fight whoever, but the fact that they're fighting Tim Tszyu, it's that much better.
Sebastian, I don't know if you've thought about this, but obviously if you get the phone call, it means Tszyu already accepted you as the replacement opponent, right? It's just a matter of you confirming that you were going to be the replacement opponent. Any thoughts on that? Do you think he's thinking maybe you're a little rusty coming off the loss and coming off of such a long layoff? I mean, is there any, I wouldn't say animosity, but a little bit of more competitive spirit, knowing he so quickly jumped at the opponent change? Because you're a different proposition than Thurman. I mean, you're a big guy. I mean, he's preparing for a 5'8" opponent. Now he's preparing for a 6'5" opponent. And for him to just willingly take the change of opponent in a blink of an eye, I gotta be honest with you. If I'm Tszyu, I'm thinking, man, that's a drastic change in the last 2 weeks of preparation. But he took it. Any thoughts on that? Any dare I say, are you offended by?
Oh, definitely not offended. This is a big fight. This is a big fight. Everybody's been talking about it. Before it was even announced. So I'm pretty sure he has the same mindset as me. This is one of the best fights you can make a 154, and when the opportunity presents itself, you take it.
Sebastian, with all due respect to Keith Thurman, former world champion, he'd been out of the ring for a very long time. He was coming up in weight to challenge Tim Tszyu. Do you think you stepping in the way that you are is actually a better fight?
Oh, of course. You're gonna ask me if I'm a better fighter. Of course, I'm gonna say that too. But it's everything happens for a reason. That's what I could really say. Everything happens for a reason. The fans are gonna get a great fight. I'm pretty sure the fight with Keith Thurman would have been great too. But I'm glad it's me.
And you know what, Sebastian, the loss to Mendoza, it was a shock for you, but it was probably a shock for a lot of boxing fans as well. So if you really think about it, maybe if you say, okay, that Mendoza fight was a hiccup for you, aside from that, you were streaking. You were a guy who people were really pointing to accomplish big things in this weight class. And now it's an opportunity for you to sort of get right back on that platform. I mean, Tim Tszyu's probably the most notorious guy at 154 pounds right now as far as the guy who a lot of people are talking about. Prior to that, I thought it was you and Tszyu together. You were both streaking as the newcomers on the block at 154 pounds, and you were looked at as the two guys that were sort of going to take over the weight class. So the fight sort of happening, you kind of mentioned it already, it was a fight that people wanted to see anyway. Maybe not in the way that we initially thought, right? On a 2 weeks preparation, so to speak. But, you guys are both in camp. You guys are both getting ready for this. What does this do for your career, beating Tim Tszyu, who is the most talked about guy in the weight class right now? What does this do for your career? What would it do for you?
Yeah, it puts me in the top. It puts me in the top, a place where I've been wanting or seeking for a long time. I also become a world champion. I catch up to my sister, so that's definitely something I want to do. It's just a dream come true. If everything turns out well, and it will, everything comes out right, and it'll be a great start for my 2024.
Chance for redemption.
Definitely.
In a big way.
Bigger than that, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Oh, you mentioned your sister Gabriela sitting right next to you. Again, welcome to the champion club there, Gabriela. What's next for you?
Thank you for having me. Right now, we're just focusing 100% on Sebastian. We don't have any set date, but we're maybe looking around May, April. We'll see.
That was a good win over Christina Cruz, man. We're from New York. We know how difficult she can be to look good against, and that's an underrated win because a lot of people won't know how good of a win that is for you. But congratulations on that.
Yeah, and you did it in dramatic and emphatic fashion, that's for sure. So that's good stuff. But guys, thanks for joining us. It has been fantastic to have you here. Thank you for being so open and willing to take this interview and tell us how you're feeling. So if you have anything else you guys want to say, go right ahead.
Just make sure you guys tune in March 30th, pay-per-view, Amazon Prime Video. Another Fundora added to the World Championship list. And maybe my father, Trainer of the Year,
Nice. Bold predictions. I like it. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Deep Waters. We are joined by our good friend, George DeMatteis. George, take us away.
Yeah, we're having so much fun here on Deep Waters ProBox TV. All right, we're joined by ESPN analyst Tim Bradley, the Hall of Famer. All right, Tim, let's talk about this matchup between Fundora and Tim Tszyu. It's a big difference here. Fundora, a tall fighter, 6'5". Tim Tszyu and Keith Thurman, definitely not 6'5". How does Tszyu adjust to that physical difference between Fundora and Thurman?
Well, first of all, that's going to be difficult. He is facing the southpaw. He's been training for an orthodox fighter and a Keith Thurman, and now he has to switch his whole camp, and he has a few weeks to do so. Looking for sparring partners, that size is going to be very difficult for him as well. This is a bigger challenge, a bigger threat, in my opinion, compared to Keith Thurman, who I thought was going in this fight. I thought I didn't have him winning this fight at all. I thought he was going to get stopped eventually with a body shot or so. Been out of ring for so long. The injury, came about because of inactivity, because of age, because of pushing himself inside the gym, so on and so forth. But I'm going to tell you folks right now, because of this news, I am going to update my account. I literally canceled my Amazon account when I heard that Tim Tszyu and Keith Thurman was actually going to face off. I am now going to update my account because I am now buying this pay-per-view. This is going to be a fantastic fight. You got two guys, big hearts, decent skill. Both guys got punching power coming forward. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about an explosion here, fans at home, and we get to see how well they can deal with the adversity and change. That's gonna be on display when both these guys face each other. But man, I'm excited about the news. Keith Thurman, get well, my man. Sorry you couldn't fight. My bad. However, I think this is a better matchup. And yes, Prime Video, just to check this out. They getting my money. They getting my money for this pay-per-view.
Tim, why is it your bad? Because you told Keith that you weren't going to buy it when he was fighting, and now you're going to buy it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I wasn't buying it. Hey, Paulie, I wasn't going to buy that, man. Are you serious? Because I already know what's going to happen. Now I'm like curious to know what's going to happen with this matchup because it's the change.
You know what's crazy to me is how fast Tim Tszyu accepted the replacement change. Like, bro, you're getting ready for Keith Thurman, who's 5'8", has been out of the ring for years, and, smaller guy. Now all of a sudden you're fighting a tall guy who comes to you, too. You don't have to go find him, at least. That's the only positive. He doesn't have to go find him, right? But the guy comes with firepower himself, man, And again, 6'5" to 5'8" difference. Bro, how many inches is that? Let me get my man. That's a 9-inch difference, bro. Yeah. That's a 9-inch difference. And a southpaw to a right-hander. I'll tell you, man.
80-inch reach.
I'll tell you, Tim Tszyu, he's hot, man, because to feel that confident where that kind of drastic change of a name opponent, he didn't care. I give him credit. And I give Fundora credit too, man, because Fundora's coming over knockout loss to Mendoza, right? So even that confidence, you might be able to say, you know what, I don't know if I'm ready for this kind of fight right back off that layoff when I just lost to Mendoza. I want to get my confidence back. Nope. He was getting ready to fight. But Bohchuk was not an easy fight.
Not an easy fight.
You know what? Let me get in there and fight Tszyu instead. Let me get the main event tonight. And that's what he said. That's what he's going to do at the end of the month.
Paulie, we spoke about this off air, and I'm saying, Tim Tszyu, I don't think he cares who they put in front of him. He's streaking right now. He wants all the smoke. So this fight came up. He's like, yeah, I'm still fighting. I don't care. I'm training. I'm ready. He moved to Las Vegas for training camp. That shows a lot of commitment to me. When I first heard that, I'm like, all right, Tim Tszyu really is trying to take America by storm. He's coming over here. He's getting well prepared. I don't think there was any way that he wasn't going to fight. So when any opportunity came up, no matter who it was, he was like, yeah. But also, Fundora is a guy who's been on the radar. They have a mutual opponent in Brian Mendoza. They both of their last opponents was the same guy. So it's not like
that's why he's gonna do it.
I agree. And obviously Mendoza scored the knockout against Fundora. Tszyu was able to handily handle Brian Mendoza. So I think he's looking at that. I don't care how tall the guy is. I don't care if the guy's southpaw. I'm beating this guy no matter what. I think that's just the mindset that Tim Tszyu has now, especially being a newly crowned champion. But either way, I'm with you, Tim. I'm curious about this fight. I look forward to this fight more so than I did with Thurman. You got a guy who's actually been active, who's in the weight division. Thurman wasn't in the weight class either, guys. That's another thing. He's moving up from 54, which has never really fought at a high level. Fundora's been there. He's a ranked contender. So I like this fight too.
However long this lasts, I think it's a dynamite fight. Go ahead, Tim. I don't want to cut you off. Go ahead.
But Paulie, you did say something. You mentioned something, but I think the layoff actually did Fundora some good, because when you get knocked out like that, think about it. That brain, sometimes fighters, they go back into a fight or get back into activity, back into training and sparring and so on and so forth, that they keep re-injuring themselves. They don't let their brain heal up. So being out for almost a year now and just, letting his brain heal up and then coming back and taking the challenge, it's going to straighten him out.
Well, that's if he wasn't sparring. That's if he wasn't sparring. We don't know.
Look, right shortly after, when I fought, who was it? Ruslan Pavatnikov. I took a massive amount of damage, okay? I came back and I fought against Marquez because I needed someone to put me in gear, man. Keep me on a straight and narrow, man. Keep me focused. I was at that point in my career. So it was good for me to face a challenge. So Fundora wasn't coming back facing a guy that was easy. He was facing a puncher beforehand. Now he's facing another puncher. So I think mentally he's going to be better moving in this fight, fighting against Tim Tszyu. As far as Tim Tszyu goes, I don't know about the style, man. The style matchup is going to be a bit difficult for him. The reach is going to be a little bit different for him. I see an advantage with his sharpness and preciseness. That's why I see he has an advantage, because Fundora makes a ton of mistakes, and if he didn't tighten up on his defense, he could wind up getting knocked out again by Tim Tszyu.
I'm going to counteract that, champ, because Fundora doesn't really use his reach advantage anyway. His height is used as an inside fighter. It's kind of strange, but it's not the first guy we've seen that likes to fight on the inside as a tall guy. I remember Diego Chico Corrales was very good at doing the same thing. My question is this, though, because, Tim, you came back from the Provodnikov fight. you were hurt in that fight. You took some big shots. You came back. Number one, you won the fight. So confidence-wise, that's a big difference. I think there's a big difference when you lose a fight like that and when you win a fight like that. Because when you win a fight like that, you still keep that confidence. I'll still believe that if Meldrick Taylor doesn't lose to Chavez back in 1990, mind you, this week is the anniversary of that fight, 34 years. I think there's a different Meldrick Taylor afterwards. I think that kind of damage combined with the loss can kind of hurt you. You came back. You had the Marquez fight. Well, you weren't a guy who got hit that much to begin with when you wanted to. You knew how to box smart. You knew how to box athletically. You chose to get yourself into some wars when you wanted to. Fundora is always in those kind of contact fights. He's in high contact fights all the time. So my question is, he got knocked out. It was a pretty bad knockout with Mendoza. So can that lay on your mind? Can that linger on your mind? I got stopped a few times in my career. It never really affected me until I got stopped by Sean Porter. After that, I couldn't take the same kind of punch and power anymore. It just wasn't there. But before that, even when I had been stopped, they weren't bad stoppages. They were stoppages on fatigue, just stoppages on being overwhelmed. And of course, I was able to come back and win fights and win championships. But there's certain kinds of knockouts that are hard to come back from. I can remember training in the gym with Junior Jones. When Junior would get knocked out, he would get knocked out, man. And there'd come a point where he just wasn't the same, even by the time he was like 30 years old. So even if Fundora is young, even if Fundora is back now, he's going to get hit harder than he's ever been hit with Tim Tszyu, bro. Tim Tszyu can punch. You know what I mean? Tim Tszyu has some big punching power. So there are some things to counteract that as well. I think the early rounds are going to be very, very telling to see how Fundora takes this kind of punching power.
You're right, Paulie. You're right. Psychologically, it has an effect on a fighter, for sure. But once he gets caught in that first round and he gets caught flush and he don't go anywhere, then he believes again. The fighter starts to believe again. And that's when the problem can start materializing for Tim Tszyu. Because this kid, the Inferno, yes, he can fight in the inside. Yes, he likes to fight. He likes that type of fight. But he also can stay long and stay on the outside, if he just stays disciplined mentally, in the fight. But I think it's going to be a great fight. Again, I'm buying this fight because, one, Rolly, I became a fan of Rolly. I saw his interview with talking about Garcia. I loved everything he said. And then that Chihuahua thing that he's doing with Cruz, hilarious. Love it. And Cruz, on the other hand, he always comes and he brings it. So, and that's what I love about Cruz. He's never in a dog fight. So we got some great fights, man, that's coming about, bro, real soon, in a couple of weeks. And I'm buying this pay-per-view.
William El Camarón Zepeda. Now, camarón in Spanish means the shrimp, but he was no shrimp in that fight against Maxie Hughes. He was dominant as Maxie Hughes' corner stopped the fight after the fourth round. All right, Chris, what do you make of Zepeda's performance? And now he's on the range of every big-time lightweight here in boxing.
Yeah, I mean, he's crashed through. Listen, I called Maxie Hughes' last fight against George Kambosos. He won that fight. He dominated. He was in control. He outboxed Kambosos. Kambosos obviously got the gift decision. Maxie Hughes can box, and he had the skill set that could have troubled Zepeda. Zepeda didn't give him a chance. He steamrolled him, averaging 99 punches a round in every fight, but threw over 100 punches a round in this fight. And plus two-fisted, hard punching. I mean, the guy is in fun fights. I put him in with all those guys. I want to see him. I want to see him actually with the likes of Shakur. Obviously people are like, oh, they're too high on Zepeda now, but Shakur is a very distinct style. I don't think you're going to get 99 punches off against a guy like Shakur. But I still want to see it. I think it'll be an exciting fight just because Zepeda, pushes the pace. He's in there. He's in your face. I don't think he's going to try and box with Shakur because I don't think he can. So he's going to have to try and just punch his way through, which is going to give a lot of opportunities for Shakur. But either way, I like it. Make the fight happen. Why not?
Yeah, Bob Arum said on Boxing Scene that if Oscar calls him, they'll make the Shakur fight for July. But obviously he has the WBA and IBF mandatory belts there. He's the mandatory contender for that. Paulie, what did you make of Zepeda's performance and putting the rest of the lightweight division on notice?
Yeah, he's an exciting fighter. He's a guy who knows how to make the fight max exciting. He comes forward, he throws punches when he gets in range, and he throws them in combination. He goes to the body, he goes to the head. Prototypical exciting fighter when you define an exciting fighter. But remember what I said, gets in range, throws punches. Against more difficult opponents, the proposition of finding your range is a little bit more difficult. That's why we just talked about Shakur Stevenson. In order to throw all those punches, you first have to find the range. I think where Maxie Hughes went wrong is he started boxing well in the first round especially, but he kept giving the same look. You have to give the illusion that you're dangerous from different places, just so the pressure fighter can at least pause for a split second and realize, okay, there's a different target here. And then all of a sudden you punch from that different look. I think that's where Maxie Hughes went wrong. Maxie Hughes fought a beautiful first round, boxed very well, counter punch very well. And Zepeda kept trying, but Hughes kept outboxing him. The problem was he kept the same look all the time. That high guard just kept boxing from the same look all the time, shooting that jab from the same look all the time. Eventually, Zepeda's going to hone in. You have to change your levels. You have to give different looks, and you have to be able to punch off of all those different looks, drop those athletic feints and whatnot. Before you know it, now you're slowing down the pressure fighter just enough. You're not slowing him down a lot, but you're slowing him down just enough where now you're running circles around him. You're dazzling him. Zepeda, Hughes didn't do that, had no answers. Eventually, that gets you tired. You know, Tim talks about the bad game plan by Hughes. I think once he fell into that, he just got tired because now Zepeda can rip your body. He can bring that pace to you. Now, even if you wanted to box, you can't because now you're tired and he's wearing you out. So all Hughes could do is say, yo, I've had enough. I can't deal with this guy. He's better than me. Who does Zepeda fight next? You know what? Everybody would love to see the Shakur Stevenson fight, right? Everybody wants to see Shakur. You got to match Shakur Stevenson with pressure guys like this. Shakur and this guy will be a terrific, terrific fight. The problem we have in boxing is that unless certain tough fights are mandated, they will be avoided. And I don't think Golden Boy Promotions will put Zepeda in with Shakur Stevenson. I think Shakur Stevenson will be the most avoided guy in the lightweight division because he's the best fighter in the lightweight division. I see Zepeda possibly going the IBF route. I think you guys mentioned he might be the mandatory in the IBF. The winner of Kambosos and Lomachenko against Zepeda, possibly that's the option. Kambosos is tough as always. If he wins that fight, Lomachenko's a little bit older. Maybe Zepeda's pressure can get to him, especially as Zepeda's a big lightweight. Lomachenko is a smaller lightweight. So, you know, I think those are the options that they may pursue, especially with Lomachenko being the favorite in that fight.
That's a fun fight too, though. Like Kambosos, Zepeda would be fun.
Kambosos Zepeda would be fun, but can Kambosos beat Lomachenko? I don't think you're stopping Kambosos that easy. Kambosos will make it tough, and it will go. I think Kambosos would love to be in the wheelhouse of Zepeda. I think it would be a fun fight. I'm just not sure Kambosos beats Lomachenko.
Yeah, Tim, what do you make as who should be the next opponent for Zepeda? We know that he's the mandatory for the WBA and the IBF belts.
I think he mentioned Shakur Stevenson. Why not? You know, I think it's the perfect fight for Shakur, especially coming off the De Los Santos fight. It's a guy that's going to be directly in front of him. It's a guy that he can look fantastic about. It's a guy that everybody's believing in right now. You know, the hype is around him because of the massive amount of punches that he throws. Zepeda is not. Look, this is the problem with Zepeda. Okay, and there's a few guys in the division that I think that can beat him right now. Shakur is one of them. The problem is with Shakur, he's not explosive. 2, he doesn't have fast feet. 3, he doesn't have devastating one-punch knockout power. As you know, Shakur, you look at the De Los Santos fight, you look at the Nakatila fight, you know, those guys were very explosive. You know, they closed the gap really fast. You know, Nakatila was very long and awkward. You know, had explosive punching power in his right hand when he decided to throw it. You know, and I don't see that with Zepeda. I see Zepeda as being a plodding forward. You know, he'll use his jab, yes, but he stays in range. A guy like Shakur will eat that up. He will eat that up. I'm sorry to tell you guys. You know, I know you guys are high on Zepeda and, you know, fans. I get it. He's a fantastic fighter, but there's levels to this game. And we're talking about the sweet science of boxing. That's what we're talking about. And Shakur does it best. Now, Zepeda, he'll beat a lot of other guys. I wouldn't mind seeing Zepeda fight against Lomachenko and the Kambosos winner. I wouldn't mind seeing him do that fight. But since we're talking about Shakur and you think you have the goods, fight Shakur.
Yeah, you know,
fight Shakur.
Tim, you got a good point because, you know, the average IQ in boxing will feel like Shakur has to prove something because now, you know, he didn't look so exciting in the last fight. But also pressure, what the average IQ in boxing has to understand to reach the higher IQ in boxing is that these pressure fighters also have something to prove. Can they find range against master boxers? Yep. You look exciting. You look like Superman against guys like that. You know what? It was impressive to do it against Hughes, who himself has been a pretty good boxer. But can you do it against the Harvard school, the Ivy League of supreme boxers? Can you do it against the level of Shakur Stevenson? Can you close the gap? Because once you can close the gap against that level of fighter, now you're talking about being one of the best fighters in the sport. But you've got to be able to do it. You've got something to prove as well. You can be exciting. You can be a winner. Can you do it against the Ivy League of range control fighters, the Floyds of the world, and now in this generation, the Shakur Stevensons of the world?
Look at Maxie Hughes. Maxie Hughes, has great footwork, didn't really use it that well. When he did use it, he was having success. Defensively, when he used his jab, he was popping Zepeda as he was coming in with his jab, you know, and in various combinations here and there. But he couldn't sustain that pace. 2, he can sustain his distance, but if he would have had more success. And at the same time, he doesn't have any pop to detour a guy like Zepeda. You got to have some pop. And, you know, I've talked to guys that has faced Shakur Stevenson. You know, whether you say he can punch or not, These guys, they not running in on him. And the reason why is because he can hurt you.
Yeah.
Punches you don't see. He time you as you're coming in. He has some punching power. So
and also, Tim,
man, it's going to be interesting to see where Zepeda goes from here, man.
Go ahead, quickly,
also, Tim Tszyu, he's physically strong. You can see the way that he holds his stance. And a lot of good boxers, power is one thing, strength is another. And certain guys, they might not be big punchers. Like Shakur's not, like you said, he's not a one-punch guy, but he's a physically strong guy. And his ability to maneuver guys when they do get close is really important to be a good boxer. Similar to how you box, Paul. There were times on the inside you had to be strong, and that matters. Okay. But Shakur, I believe, is actually a lot stronger than people give him credit for.
Floyd's like that too.
Floyd is very strong, actually.
Yeah, lightweight division, one of the most exciting divisions in all of boxing. We'll see who William Zepeda fights next. And we want to say thank you to the Fighting Fundoras, Sebastian and Gabriela, for joining us here on Deep Waters. And we also want to give a shout out and our best wishes to the Hands of Stone Roberto Duran, who is in the hospital overcoming and recovering from heart complications. We wish him a quick recovery to Roberto Duran. This is Deep Waters here on ProBox TV.